Know this before buying Armored Core 6. There's a lot of negativity surrounding this game, and I want to cover all of that in today's video. The first thing I'm going to mention is people have stated that From Software's UI is really outdated. The software that they use is the one that they've always used, and while I would state that there is Unreal Engine 5 and things are improving, this works for them. I'm sure eventually they'll make that transition, but I also understand that moving on to something completely new would be a lot more time needed for them to make these games. But from what I've seen, it doesn't really detract me from how good this game looks. I don't think it's that bad. Also, I think too many people are focusing too much on frame rate. They're focusing too much on little things when we need to go back to the days of good games. And to me, that's what From Software brings to the table. We can always find these little nicks and crannies that we know could be better. But the main thing is, are they delivering good games? And how is their track record? From Software, they have an amazing track record. I don't even need to get into that. Look, I'm new to Armored Core. I'm new to the series, but I could definitely say I appreciate they have really gone out of their way to focus on the old players, but really also focus on new players like myself, and I'm sure many of you out there as well. Souls-like, Souls-like, Souls-like. Too much like a Souls-like game, not enough like a Souls-like game. This is not a Souls game. It doesn't need to be a Souls game. It needs to be an Armored Core game. Are there going to be certain things that From Software is known for in their Souls games to incorporate? I'm sure there's little things. I've definitely noticed these little things. It is not a Souls game though. Speaking of being a beginner to the Armored Core series, I do want to put a plug in for another YouTube channel. It's probably the last thing I should do being a small little mini YouTube channel. But Boomstick Gaming, they have like 310,000 subscribers, but I came across their video for an ultimate starter guide for Armored Core, and it was really helpful to me. So I'll leave a link to that in the description. But moving on to something that came out was the PvP showcase by Bandai Namco, and Ouroboros and Fighting Cowboy, they were the captains in 3v3, and also at the end of the showcase, they did a 1v1. I can't speak on their behalf. I believe Fighting Cowboy played older games, and so did Ouroboros, but the main thing is here is they're playing a game where we don't have access to all the things. And I know From Software doesn't want to show off a bunch of the things, such as all the different legs, the mechanics, and stuff like that. So I believe going into PvP limited, that's the first thing. Another is, so what? I believe that the 3v3 is going to be a entertaining, a fun aspect, whereas maybe the 1v1 will be more of a sweat gaming where people are going in, showing off their talent. And I think it's just going to be a good experience overall with the PvP. Once again, we'll see for ourselves when the day comes when we get to play this. But shout out to Fighting Cowboy and Ouroboros. I think they did a really good job showcasing the game and just having a fun time. Now, the overall showcase, that's a different story. I believe it was a little cringe, but they definitely made it a good one. And I think it's way too early to simply judge the PvP. I'm just happy we have it. So how challenging is Armored Core 6? Let's read exactly what From Software has stated. We've never considered Armored Core a game that has to be consistently challenging, and in Armored Core 6, we've tried to introduce waves of difficulty throughout the campaign. So in some missions, you'll be expected to wipe out a number of vastly inferior MT mechs, and you'll just lay waste to these machines, and you'll feel very powerful and cathartic. And these missions are supposed to be just fun. However, we've been known for our challenging boss fights and encounters, so we wanted to incorporate that in AC6. And so you will find some formidable bosses and duels with ACs of like performance and agility as you. As well as that, for the challenging aspects, we have the ranking system where you can replay missions as an endgame feature and aim for the highest rank on every mission for additional rewards. 1, that was a lot to read. 2, I do like that there's going to be endgame mechanics that we can go back and replay for rewards. And lastly, I'd like that they mentioned that this game is going to be fun and it's really going to focus on difficulty as well with the bosses. In the end, we'll have to see for ourselves, and after all the demos, gameplays, the PvP, what are your thoughts on all this? Leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you just smash that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. It's the best way to support the channel. Make sure you subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. I have seen mixed reviews from previous AC players. Now, speaking of being a beginner in... Speaking of being a beginner to Armored Core, I do want to... Speaking of being a... Man. One, that was a lot to read.